Hi everyone, welcome back to another tutorial today. So in today's video, we're going to learn how to make a notch lapel blazer dress. Okay, if that is what you want to learn how to make for yourself, then keep watching this video to the very end and let's head straight to it. Firstly, you'll be needing your basic bodice front in full. I have just my basic dart, which is the side bust dart and the waist dart. And of course, I'm going to be folding my pattern like so. Because this dress is a sleeveless and I'm going to be doing some kind of modification, I'm going to be reducing or deepening my armhole by just half an inch. Okay, then from the center, I'm curving it to redraw the new armhole curve. I just want to deepen it because I feel a blazer should be free around the armhole so that even if you're using something to wear it inside, it's not going to be so tight at the sleeve, you're comfortable. Now for the neckline, I'm removing 1 inch also. It's a sleeveless, like I said, so I do not want it to be just at the very tip of my shoulder. I went ahead to remove 1 inch and I'm going ahead to cut it out right now. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, please do want to subscribe, turn on the bell notification icon so you'll be the very first person to know whenever I post lovely tutorials like this. The next thing I'm going to do now is to add fresh pattern paper to fill up this part. And having done that, I'm going to be marking 1 inch from here to this point like so. Now going in with my ruler, I'm going ahead to extend my shoulder line to touch that 1 inch point that I marked. Now the next thing I'm going to do is to check where I want my overlap jacket to stop, like where I want the jacket to overlap each other. So I'm going to be marking this point. Now this is optional, it's not standard. You can do yours wherever you want it to be. Some persons do their own at the very side seam of the pattern. So I'm stopping mine here. I'm going to be connecting that 1 inch to this point. I'm first using broken lines. The reason why I'm using broken lines is because I want to be sure that where my jacket, where the line crosses the center front is actually okay. As you can see, the one on the screen that I made, you don't need to use a camisole to wear it. So by the time I saw that it was okay, I drew out my line very well. Now from this point, I'm going to be marking 4 inches. You want to go in with your ruler from that point to draw a line which is slanting downwards. Okay, this is the type of blazer I'm making. There are so many variations of notch collar blazer. So mine, I'm going to be slanting it downwards. On that line that I slanted downwards, I'm going to be marking out 4 inches. I'm going to be connecting that point to this point like so. Now this is what this pattern looks like. I want to fold this over so that I can trace that lapel that we did to the other side. So having folded it over, I'm going to be tracing it out to the other side. Trust me, this is going to make your work easier. Like it's going to make you to see the blazer even when you've not sewn it. You're seeing what the design is going to look like. You're seeing like what your dress is going to come out like. So I always do this whenever I'm making a blazer. I'm going to have to trace it out and I'll be using my pen to make it visible so you guys can see it clearly right now. So can you see that? We also have the same thing at this point at the other side. Now it's time to put in the collar part of it. I'm going to be adding more fresh pattern paper. Having done that, I'm going to be extending the roll line. It's actually the roll line. I'm extending the roll line upwards. And from the roll line, I went ahead to mark 1 inch. That 1 inch now is the collar stand. Okay, that 1 inch now is the collar stand, whereas the long line is the roll line. I hope that's understandable. I also went ahead to mark 1 inch from the roll line so I can extend the collar line to touch the collar stand to touch this very particular line that we slanted downward, the 4 inch line. Now to get the length of the collar, on your back bodice, you're going to be measuring your neckline, this point. Can you see it? You're going to measure in that point. So I'm going to be using my tape like so. And after measuring, I got 2.8 inches. Now I'll be adding 0.02 inches to that 2.8 inches, making it 3 inches. From the tip of my shoulder, I'm going to be marking 3 inches upwards. So having done that, I'll go ahead to use my ruler to square out a line like so. And at this point, this is what we have. I actually had to square another line that looks like kind of 90 degrees slanting. So at this point, I'm marking out 2 inches. I felt like 2 inches was so much, so I used 1.5 inches. Just to mark out 1.5 inches at this point. Now with my ruler, I'm going to be extending this line upwards using dotted lines or broken lines. So having done that, on that broken line now, I also went ahead to indicate 1.5 inches. Now this is what we're going to do. From this point, you're going to be marking the wideness of your collar. Mine, I used 3 inches plus the collar stand. That is 2 inches plus 1 inch collar stand. We're going to be connecting this point to this point, here to this point, and then back to this point. But we're doing that right now so you can see it. I'm going to have to connect this point to this point like so, with a slight curved line. With a slightly curved line, okay? Then I'm taking this point, I'm connecting it back to this point like so. I just hope this blazer tutorial is very simple. I had to do it in a way that it's well understood by everyone. I don't want to use the kind of labeling of A, B, C, D. I just want to make it simple so you guys can understand. Okay. So at this point, I traced also that part outwards. And I haven't traced it out. This is what we have. Can you see? It's going to make your work easier. Like you're going to be seeing your blazer when you've not even made it. I went ahead to smoothen out some lines, especially at this part, so that when we are cutting on fold, we don't have a curved line or a curved center, whatever. So I went ahead to start cutting out now. At this point, we are cutting out the parts that we don't need, so we can leave the parts that we actually need to create our notch lapel blazer dress. Like I said, if you haven't subscribed to this channel, please do want to subscribe. Click the bell notification icon. Also like this video and also share it to other sewing platforms where you feel they will be needed. Like this video so it can also be beneficial to other persons. Do want to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon, very important. So you'll be the very first person to know. YouTube is going to notify you whenever I post lovely tutorials like this. Thank you. So I'm going ahead to cut out. Please do want to take note of the part that I'm cutting out, okay? Do want to take note of the parts that I am cutting out. Can you see that? So at this point, this is what we are left with, and this is the part that we need to create our notch lapel. The next thing I'm going to do is to cut this part out because we are sewing them separately. We need to cut it out and then sew it back to have that kind of professional look, you know. So I've separated it. Now heading over to our darts, which is actually, we're not doing too much. We're not draping anything. It's quite simple. I'm going to be cutting open my side bust dart. Of course, then I'll go ahead also to cut my waist dart. Now I'm going to be transferring the side bust dart to the waist dart. So we just sew only at the waist, and we're not going to be sewing the side bust dart, okay? So that is it. This is all for the front of this particular dress. Remember, you're cutting this in two. Of course, we're going to be sewing it, so do not worry, I got you covered. Heading over to the lower part of it. There is this kind of attachment on this dress that looks like, I don't know what to call it. So I'm checking with the upper pattern, with the upper bodice, where that design is going to fall in. And of course, it's going to be falling in, I think, 1.5 inches away from the center front. Now, for yourself, it's up to you. You can do whatever you want. Okay, you can put yours wherever you want it. I added fresh pattern paper to the hem of the skirt. so we can get that design. I also made my center front notice visible. From my center front, I marked 4 inches outwards and 4 inches from my hem downwards. Now I will go in with my ruler and connect that 4 inches I marked downwards to the hem like so. And having done that, I'll go ahead to connect it back to that 1.5 inches away from the center front that we marked initially. So this is what it looks like. I'll just go ahead to use my hand like a kind of free hand to give it a curved effect. So we'll go ahead now to cut. Now, if you don't have an extra or you don't have so many papers to use, you want to make sure you've cut your skirt first on your fabric before doing this. Because once you cut this now, you've ruined the foundation pattern. So you want to make sure you cut your skirt. You cut out the skirt pattern first on your fabric before doing this, okay? So that when you cut this out, you also go ahead to cut it on your fabric. But if you have more than enough paper, you just want to trace out this, then you cut your skirt pattern separately and then have this traced out separately on another fresh paper. So that is the attachment, so I'm telling you, that's it. Now, this is for the back. Remember that for the front, we removed about 0.8 or 0.5 thereabouts from the sleeve, from the shoulder, and we also deepened the shoulder by 0.5 inches. So we'll do the same thing to the back also, so that they can align. I'm going to have to do the same thing to the back. And having done that, I'll go ahead to use my scissors to cut it out. So at this point, this is what we have. I went ahead to open the dart for the back. And voila, this is just the back pattern. Of course, the back skirt is the basic. Now, heading over to the sewing, this is the front part of it that has the jacket or the lapel. We're going to be placing this, but before you place this, we're going to be attaching the back. Okay, before you place this, we are going to be attaching the back. I'm just kind of showing you guys, but do not worry, I will attach the back and also show you how to sew it properly. Before you put this in, you want to go ahead to sew the shoulder front and the shoulder back together, so that that collar stand can have where to sit on. Can you see that? After sewing it, I went ahead to impute my collar stand. Can you see how beautiful it looks? Now, to turn it over to give it a neat finish, you need your lining. The same pattern you used to cut your fabric, same pattern you're going to be using to cut out for the lining. Same thing, I'm going to be stitching the lining at the shoulder, front and back at the shoulder. And after doing that, I'll also go ahead to sew up the collar to it. Now, you want to mark your notches, very necessary. After stitching up the lining and the fabric, you're going to be starting, can you see that center notch? You sew all the way to this point, to this notch here, and then to this point. You want to be very careful while sewing this. Every notch is important. You can use your pin and hold them down. Every notch is important if you want to get a very beautiful and professional blazer look. Every notch is important. Haven't sewn it, this is what we had. At this point, I haven't even given it a press because the electricity was out. I haven't ironed it. Now heading over to the skirt part of it, I've sewn in the welt pocket. Then that very attachment I told you guys about, this is it. I'm going to have to place it on this front part of the skirt, making sure that the darts align. Then I'm going to be stitching it at the waist and also at the side seam. We're going to be stitching it there. So after sewing it, this is what it looks like. I went ahead to use my chalk to mark in my measurement, and I'll be using the back and the front to shapen it together, following the measurement that I marked. I'll be sewing the back and the front together. So I haven't done that. This is what it looks like. I'm going to have to sew the back and the front. Next thing, we are joining the upper part of it to the lower part of it. And at the end, this is what we have. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.